Hello and welcome to the WDW News Today podcast, live from right here in Celebration, Florida. My name's Eric Morton. With me, back from another stint in Japan, the one and the only Tom Corliss.
People are going to get real tired of this shtick. Like, people are like, you're back again? I'm like, yeah, I'm going back, though. They're like, what? Huh?
Guess who's back again?
No.
Yeah, well, you've been gone in Japan for a while, and the only time I've been able to spend any time talking to you is just through the media event of the last couple days. There's a lot going on this summer. Nick and I previewed a lot of this on the last episode, but there's just a lot going on. But I have to say, your shirt is... I didn't wear the shirt today.
You wore it yesterday. You wore it to the media event.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot of compliments.
Yeah, shop.wdwnt.com. You can find out more about the Tip Top. I know also wdwnt.shop. Don't ask me why. Either one of these places, you can buy the shirt. And these are great. These are that lightweight stretch material that actually I wore it yesterday, and it was very nice and cool.
They're nice
on a very
for summer.
hot day.
I've worn this at Disney World. I've worn this in Tokyo. I've worn this everywhere already.
Maybe the only shirt that features Shriki Atundu. I don't know.
Well, the only button-up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a great thing. They were very excited in Japan. Someone noticed the Shriki, one of the cast members. They're very excited.
Yeah, check it out. You support us. It'd be great. We're trying to sell some of these, and maybe with the profits, we won't have to do the podcast in a back alley anymore. Ooh, watch out for that syringe over there, Tom.
Someday when Lucas returns from the war, we'll have a podcast studio.
My dearest Allison, has been a fortnight since I last wrote you. The days have been long and difficult. Our journey has been rough. I like that you have 7-Up and I have Sprite.
What year is it?
Who had that on their bingo card?
I didn't know 7-Up existed still. I had no idea.
The last time I had a 7-Up, I think it's because my parents were making punch in the 80s to take to a party. I don't know.
Clearly, no one has done grocery shopping in this office since I left. There are still leftovers from the event that someone needs to throw away in the fridge. There's a whole banana.
I will tell you
pudding.
Who's responsible for it, and it's not me.
No, it's not you. But
because
the
you
fact
know that me.
How many of you work in this building now, and everyone's just like, I'm not throwing the banana pudding away.
No, I drew that line in the sand the day that stuff went into the fridge, where I said, I vote for throwing this stuff out now. No one's going to eat it. And Jason Diffendahl said, oh, no. We need to
Jason,
keep that
that's so unlike him. I would have never guessed.
You didn't tune in to watch us talk about...
People will eat it.
You didn't tune in to watch us talk about pita chips in the fridge. You want to hear about what's going on at Disney. In particular, a lot of the stuff we've been doing. We've been very busy. Tom was over for the opening of Fantasy Springs, which I'm sure you've seen a lot of the videos, except the ones that suddenly
Two of them are blocked currently, and we're in a war with YouTube, and that stands for everybody. I believe there are no... Jeff Lang was telling me he cannot watch the Tangled ride from anyone because everyone's videos are blocked. So I had to tell Jeff, I was like, Jeff, if they don't restore the video for anyone, I will just send you my Rapunzel's Lantern Festival video so you can watch it.
And not to jump too far ahead, but it's interesting. They had the media event for the opening of Communicore Hall where they're encouraging all the creators to go up there to show them the new Celebración Encanto.
Yeah.
And everyone's taking video of this new show, and then everybody puts up on YouTube, and it's blocked.
Yeah, because it's Encanto movie clips and music. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get to talk about that later. But it's weird that sometimes with the way that media works, they encourage you to do something. They want to share it and get it out there, and then another part of their organization is like, no. A good example of that actually is Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Again, we're going to get to that. And our honest review of that went up this morning. You can see it here on our channel.
There's a lot of good comments already.
But on the cast member previews, the instructor, which I attempted to attend, I was invited very kindly by a cast member. And unfortunately, we were unable to ride it that day. It is previews. They're experiencing some operational difficulties from time to time. But it says on there very clearly, not only are you permitted to take pictures and video, but you are highly encouraged to do so.
Yeah.
Then we attend the media event where it explicitly states you are not to take photos or video on the ride unless you were to, they had like a camera rig on the logs where you could put your camera and it basically had to be stationary. Otherwise you could not have your camera out.
You know what was funny about that though? people did anyway. Like I've seen Hollywood Reporter, I've seen a whole bunch of people put out actual footage they took that day at the thing. So I don't know what the discrepancy was there, but
I don't know.
people definitely filmed on the ride.
But you were not allowed to, per the terms of.
You were not supposed to, but no one was stopping anyone. So
I think at that point they're just like, just do it. So I didn't.
No, neither did I. We simply
got a target on our shoulders.
We wrote it 3 times, and we looked. Well, our video's already out anyway, so it doesn't matter. We wrote it 3 times so we could take it in full and make sure we had a review that was well-rounded. You should never review a ride you've only been on once. That's usually a really bad idea.
Or that you watched on YouTube.
Because you would never. Well, then you should in no way ever do that.
Right.
Because there is no way to judge. You can't judge something meant to be seen in person. You can start to form an opinion for sure, right? Like if you look at photos of Communicore Hall, you could certainly start to form an opinion, but you can't give like you can't give an in-depth review of that. You didn't see it in person.
Right.
You know.
So while you were traveling here from Japan after all your Fantasy Springs experiences, which I have to say you experienced a lot more of it than I thought you were going to be able to.
Yeah.
Like everything 19 times or something. I don't know.
Not that many. You'd be surprised how many times. I'd like the rides. I think Peter Pan was the most. I have a breakdown. Hold on, I'll find it.
Oh God.
14 times on Peter Pan.
Are you serious?
10 on Frozen, 8 on Tangled, and 7 on Tinkerbell. This isn't impressive because people who have the package and who aren't, working, did this in like a day. What was impressive is what I did without the package, right? Like that was the days where I was able to do 5 rides without the package. Because I saw there's some Twitter account I follow, and they went. I think they have a big YouTube channel, and they're like, this is terrible. We only got to do 2 things. The app is so glitchy and blah, blah, blah. And the Tokyo Disney app is terrible. It's an awful app. And yeah, sure, it's glitchy, but like I was able to pull 5 standby passes in a day. You can too. You're just not, you didn't learn it yet. You're not fast enough.
Got to get quicker fingers.
You do. They're on top of it, man. Like you got to watch them. They're like, everyone's like a machine pulling down and hitting at the same time, and it's like people are playing a Game Boy game. The Game Boy was a device. Never mind.
So while you're traveling back from Fantasy Springs, I did back-to-back media events, right? The one was one on a cruise, and quick disclaimer, and I say it on my island tour, which will be going up soon. We briefly launched the island tour, and it was a little too short. It's a little longer now. We will have it out soon. But we were given some certain media privileges, but we were not hosted. We
had the cruise booked through our travel agent.
Our friends at Be Our Guest Vacations handled that. You can go to beourguestvacations.com/WDWNT or WDWNT.travel. Check them out because that was made possible by them.
Yeah.
And
then in recent weeks, as our relationship with Disney has moved forward, right? It started as purely with Walt Disney World, really, and then slowly each department is coming on board and giving us media access. But it was a little too late in the game for Disney to give us we'd
already booked it months before.
So
and but I just wanted to get that disclaimer out there. We were given we were given a voucher for a free snorkel rental,
which Jason took advantage of.
2, we were given a voucher for, I think, maybe at each bar one of their alcohol-free drink, one of their non-alcoholic drinks, and we weren't really in a position to review food. We ate some of the food and things like that, but in terms of doing a full review of those things, you have to understand it was the first time that the cast members that work on that island had been there.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get off the ship until 10:30 a.m. and you got to be back by I think we had to be back by 5:30 or something. But you want to, once you make that pier walk and that trip to the island, you understand I better budget my time accordingly. It didn't give a lot of time to run around and do everything. We did a lot. I don't know. Jake can show it at some point. We have a time lapse of that pier walk that everyone's talking about because the walk from the ship down the pier to the island is right there, right at about half a mile, just short of a half a mile. It feels like a mile or 2, and there's no shade, no benches, no nothing. Now, I've heard that after our voyage, the Fantasy came in, and what they did was they put cast members halfway down the pier
With the cold towels.
With the cold towels, which is
Yeah.
those feel really good. But we were there on I would say, a remarkably hot day, like hotter than it's normally going to be there, and it was brutal. And then once you get to the island, there are some family cabanas right there by the tram station.
Yeah.
And not much else, like a little kiosk, and then the tram station. And then the tram takes you, I've heard it's about 2 miles. I'm not sure. I timed it. I think it was 9 or just under 10 minutes.
On the tram?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's hard to know how far you go because at times the tram was going very, very, very slow.
That's a long tram ride either way.
But it's also sort of an active construction site. They are still making improvements to the island. So the tram is being very careful. You go through it. And what you notice about the island everywhere you go is there are areas that look kind of this stark white, like this sandy or chalky area. And they have planted vegetation, but it's going to take a while for some of that to mature.
Yeah.
There is some nice vegetation throughout the island, but in many areas it is yet to grow in.
Yeah.
They remarked to us that they had been hoping they would get some rain to sort of wash the dust off of all of the plants and everything, but they didn't. So it was definitely, you could tell we're first-time visitors to this place, right? And we went, and I will say, people are going to complain about that pier walk, man.
Yeah.
That's been the main narrative that people have had is that walk, but those beaches are stunning. And so when you get there to, I think it's called Goombay Station, that area is, you see the water and you're just like blown, just the most beautiful blue water you've ever seen. I've seen a lot of beautiful blue water. I've lived in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
I have been around the Caribbean. I've been around, many places in the world that are beautiful places, but this water is just, it pops. It helped that, like, the sun was the way it was the day we were there and the weather was the way it was when we were there. But, they couldn't have picked a more beautiful location. And there are some big differences between it and Castaway Cay. There seems to be a lot of seating on the beach. And even set way back from the beach, kind of in between, there would be like bars in developed areas, and then they'll come back to the boardwalk that's towards the inland side, and you go down and there's more stuff, and kind of in between those and the dunes, there's lots of seating that's like under palm trees and in the shade, and then as you get closer to like a sand dune, there's a little bit more like beach seating, and then you get over there and there's like beach.
Okay.
So there is plenty. We're concerned that maybe the food areas, the eating, I don't know if you call them restaurants. True, and whatever the adult one is in Serenity Bay. They have some covered picnic area type seating, but the Disney Magic, we kind of filled that up. It wasn't easy to find a seat.
Yeah.
And I wonder, the Magic is the smallest ship in the fleet, right? So you bring the Fantasy, the Wish, somebody like that in there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not going to be anywhere for people to sit. I don't know. But I think you would like it. I think you'll like it.
Well, we'll see. I know you and Jason are probably going to do an honest review later this week.
We are.
Yeah.
I just want to give you an overview because we're talking about different media things that we have recently experienced, and I did that. Jason did the snorkeling. I did not.
I heard Jeff said he has video of Jason perhaps with all the gear on making his way into the ocean, which I told him I need to see.
I don't know. The Junkanoo videos on our channel, I thought, people are like, oh, this is crap.
Yeah.
I thought it was a blast, and I liked that it was slightly unhinged and it wasn't so tightly orchestrated.
Yeah.
I love that it was a little room for improvisation, and it kind of goes on for as long as it goes on.
Yeah.
As long as people are feeling it, they'll go. And I thought that's a great addition. I was prepared to be like, whatever, but I really
like that because there is not really entertainment on Castaway.
Right.
That is not a thing. So that intrigues me. I like the fact that Disney has stage entertainment on the island. I hope that holds on because I think that's a great idea, and maybe Castaway could take a note from that.
Well, it's clear it's very important for Disney. It was very important to them to give cultural nods to the Bahamas.
Excuse me.
And sort of celebrate Bahamian culture and arts and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that will stay, at least in the short term. But in general, someone asked me to compare it to Castaway Cay. It's really different. It's really different. Okay. Castaway Cay is more convenient because you're right there. These beaches are, on the day I was there, just unbeatable.
Yeah.
Unbeatable. I still say Royal Caribbean has the best island I've been on. But they have like a giant swimming pool and swim up bars and stuff, and they haven't developed these to that point. I don't care about a water park like Royal Caribbean has, but all the other stuff, I think their development of the island is more suited to handling a large number of cruise passengers. You look bored.
Huh?
You look bored.
I'm just watching the Wigs aren't really doing anything.
Are
in
you
the
in
chat.
Wigs Court? Should I check
I'm
the,
in Wigs
the
Court.
YouTube chat? Maybe the YouTube
I don't know.
chat. I forget we're live sometimes.
Turdy went in there and let people know what's happening, but the Wigs have remained silent throughout.
Oh, there I am. That's weird.
It's also been a very long life, a very long couple of weeks. From stage 89 to then I spent several days. We were working on stuff and with my parents, and then I literally, I was supposed to go back to Japan sooner last time, but we had a lot after the move. There was a lot to sort out here, and so I ended up staying several more days. For a number of reasons, not just stuff to sort here. I had some personal stuff to deal with too, but. So then I think I went back on the 15th to Japan, and literally I landed, I fell asleep, I woke up in the morning, and I'm getting texts immediately. It's like, Fantasy Springs is open.
Wow.
So there was no rest. It was immediately, buy the ticket and take the world's fastest shower and literally run, over a mile, sprinting to the monorail to get to Disney Sea for that first soft.
I mean, you want to see the video of Jason walking down to snorkel? I want to see a video of you sprinting through Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I ran a half marathon, so
You didn't sprint? I've never seen you sprint.
For lengths, yeah. We did the run walk thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so there was the minute I got back to Japan, we were in the midst of that stuff. It was 3 weeks of covering Fantasy Springs and honestly not much else. Although I think we ended up going to the Sanrio theme park, and I did the Donald Duck Cafe, which that vlog's up. You can watch Nana and I eat at the weird Donald Duck Cafe for his 90th birthday.
The weird Donald Duck Cafe.
Yeah, Oh My Cafe is doing a Three Caballeros pop-up cafe for Donald Duck's 90th. It was a weird experience. But that's in that special 30-minute vlog we put out the other day. Please go watch that. And that was kind of it. I guess I went with Nana and her mother to get sushi, that was fun.
How's the sushi in Japan? Is it better than a sushi in Orlando?
You'd be surprised. It is. I know we here in Orlando are known for our fine sushi. But no, it was great.
Compared to
Honestly,
Splitsville.
Honestly, I think that was the best sushi I've had in Japan, the place they went. No, it wasn't a super fancy place, but it happened to be very, very good. What else did we do?
Isn't the best sushi place in Japan just 5 seats in a subway station?
Probably.
It is.
Yeah.
It's has 3 Michelin stars.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a movie about it on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good food in the train stations. Yeah. Did I do anything else? I don't even remember at this point. It's all a blur. I went to Disney Sea so many days in a row that no one should ever do. I love that park. It's my favorite park in the world. But the days where Fantasy Springs did not soft open, it was I guess I'll go do my usual stuff I do here. But yeah, so it was a weird, interesting and fun period. But I love these soft opening periods. These are always, every project we've covered in this company, those are always the times I look back at as very special, right? Pandora, that month of previews for Pandora were incredible, right? And the way they handled it, where it's well, if you leave, you can't come back in. And so I just literally, there were days I just sat in Pandora for, 8 to 12 hours. It was pretty insane, but it was a really fun time. And Fantasy Springs, I'm sure I'll look back at those previews in the same way, where it'll never probably be like that again, especially those first previews. There was comparatively no one there. And the excitement of being the first people in. And I couldn't believe how many Americans that knew me that I ran into. That was surprising how many people. I guess this was mid-May through now is a big time for American tourism there. And so I ran into all sorts of people that watched the show and happened to be there. They were like, we just happened to be here, and there's a soft opening.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Well, you made it back. And in fact, maybe too much information. You're staying at my house for a few days while you're back. So you were actually at my house. I hadn't seen you in several weeks. Staying at my house while I'm gone.
You were still on the cruise,
on the Magic, which for my money is the best, my favorite ship, the Queen, the Old Lady, the original. I have a soft spot for the Magic in my heart. I got back and straight to the media event.
Pretty much, yeah.
For Disney, what's called This Is Magic, the This Is Magic media.
Yeah,
event.
for main focus Tiana, but also Communicore and
Encanto, Portraits of Courage.
There's a lot going on this summer at Disney World. The drone show. It was a big media event. There was so much to cover that they didn't even really like. There's other stuff that's new for this summer that they just were like, go see it on your own.
Yeah.
It's like, go meet Joy at Hollywood Studios. Go see the Lion King 30th anniversary at Animal Kingdom. They're like, you go do that. We're busy.
Yeah, but it was interesting because if you haven't been to one of these events, it was a jam-packed schedule. Yeah. So we started at Epcot, right? We go to a reception and we saw the Portraits of Courage. They had the Voices of Liberty gave a private performance. They're handing out cocktails and they had a string quartet.
The Moonshine Sours.
A woodwind quartet.
The Navy woodwind quartet.
Yeah, the Navy woodwind.
Yeah.
Well, from the ones from NAS Jacksonville or Mayport or wherever in Jacksonville. So we do that. We walk down eventually after that to Communicore Hall. And we're standing there. Everyone's waiting to be let in. And it's a billion degrees out.
Yeah.
It is so hot, even though we're getting close to evening. And I think they held us out there on purpose so that we would appreciate the air conditioning when we went inside.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All I know is it was so hot outside that way too many people were inside Communicore Hall, and it was, at that point, like after getting a few minutes of air conditioning, I was like, I'm going outside because there's too many people in this hallway.
I think I thought it would be bigger.
Yeah. For all the positive things we had to say about Tiana, there are a lot of problems with Communicore Hall. That's the thing is that people were so focused on being angry about Tiana, and then I wrote it a couple of times. It was like, I think people are a little too, emotionally invested to give this a fair shake, as opposed to Communicore, which, the redeeming thing is it's functionality over form. Is how I would describe Communicore Hall, right? We talk to people that they operate that space, and it's clear, like, it is everything they ever wished it would be. And I think for guests, it will serve a million functions, which is great. It makes perfect sense. People will enjoy the space. They will not enjoy it in a Disney way. They will enjoy it in a functional way. And what I mean they won't enjoy it in a Disney way is it is not a very Disney structure, right? Like, they essentially rebuilt half the breezeway.
Yeah.
Right? If you remember the old back hallway that was in that Innoventions building, they built that, but without the skylights and without the windows and without any of the things that make Epcot Epcot. And so it's just a big gray box.
Yeah. A couple things, just in fairness, that they did explain to us when we talked to a couple of people. But one thing that's explained to us is like this gives them so much flexibility to do exhibits, events, festival booths, you name it, seminars.
Live broadcasts from that kitchen. They have cameras and lighting,
Yeah, so they do have people had talked about it, that I guess it had been discussed before, like a kitchen where they could do like cooking seminars or shows.
Yeah, it was in the concept art for the old building, the 3-story, the infamous mega structure.
Right.
It was all. I think they got everything they were supposed to get with that. They got it in this now, very, very plain box building.
Yeah, but it is equipped. They were not using it like that when we were there. They were actually using it to give us food.
Yeah.
But they, it's equipped with cameras and lighting and, production equipment, I guess, built into it. So that's a plus. You could do some neat stuff with this.
Yeah.
I think what they're excited about, and this is especially people that work in food there, are that this just gives them a lot of options to quickly change some things, add something, move things around. They did remark that you're not going to see a ton of food there immediately because they got to see what the flow of the park is going to be like now with the construction walls all down, and they don't want to bottle everybody up there eating there.
Yeah, at least inside. Outside open. Festival Favorites opened with a menu for Encanto.
Yeah.
Which I believe we reviewed. But
they're going to do some sort of, we've heard about this a lot, Festival Favorites, where you bring back all the big hits, like a tribute store for food.
The way it was explained to us is they're going to, like, if there are individual items that people love, but they don't really have the rest of the menu for a full booth, right? So if they decide, like, oh, we're going to get rid of this booth, but people really like this one item, we could just send that one item to Festival Favorites, and then we can replace that booth, and no one will be upset. And immediately I said to him, I go, like the frangipane cake, and he just starts laughing because we talked to them at Festival of the Arts this year, and they got rid of the frangipane cake, which people loved, and they were taken aback by how angry people were that the frangipane cake was gone. So my immediate response to him was frangipane cake, and he just started laughing. So maybe we get the frangipane cake back in January just at Festival Favorites. We'll see what happens.
I was so mad when it took away the fisherman's pie for a year or two. That was another big one.
Yeah.
That could go there.
I like the outside, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the exterior of the building. That's not what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm talking about the plaza. I like that there is an outdoor live venue, right? And we'll talk about the Encanto show too, but the Encanto show is what it is. What I'm more excited about is Lookout Cay, I should say, is performing in between the Encanto shows, and that's just a live band.
They're good.
We just have a really great live band in the middle of Epcot, bringing the center of that park to life, which was my complaint. Like, look, we did a review of World Celebration, and the one thing I think we kept saying is it feels kind of lifeless, right? And so they tried a couple weeks ago. They did that gymnast show, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a step in the right direction. And then this was like when they put that band up there, I was like, this is right. If they keep this stage occupied 365 days a year, then I think that makes up for a lot of the faults in the design of World Celebration. Because there'll at least be life in it, which let's be perfectly honest, we don't have that anymore, right? There's very little live entertainment in all four parks at this point. Magic Kingdom has held on to its, the Philharmonic and the Dapper Dans. That's about it. DAC has, what is it, Bernardica or whatever their name is? The band at, is that the name?
I don't remember anymore.
I forget.
We had them here.
No, Bernardica is the one we had.
Here.
Viva Gaia. Viva Gaia is still over on that side stage in the middle of the park, which adds a lot of life, which is necessary. And then Studios has absolutely nothing. Right. But yeah, atmospheric entertainment is a thing that's gone by the wayside. And Epcot, it certainly have a good amount of it through World Showcase, but Future World or World Celebration, Nature, and Discovery, it's kind of a dead zone, right? So I like the fact that they built an outdoor stage with a lot of visibility, which will force them to fill that throughout the year, and will continue to bring energy and life to a rather lifeless, motionless area.
One thing they did point out, if we go back inside for a second, is that this is the only park that really is just going to have a bunch of big air-conditioned areas for you to hang out.
And outdoor ones too,
and
right?
out in nice outdoor areas to hang out.
Yeah.
So now at Epcot, you have the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Right now they're kind of sharing space with the DVC lounge in there, but nice big air conditioned space. You have this. There's an AP lounge back in Morocco. So there's a lot of places to chill out.
Connections Eatery and Cafe, 750 seats, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a giant climate controlled space for people to sit and relax, right? I will say, like, there are a lot of Disney parks I've been to where it's like, where can we sit? And so there are parks where it's Disneyland and Disney Sea in Japan are a great example. Those are parks where, like, it is harder to get a bench in Fantasy Springs than it is to get on the rides. That's not even a joke. Like they could use just places to sit in those two parks, honestly. And it's so crowded all the time that, you can't really just go seat. You can't go sit in a counter service seating area and take up that table from someone that needs to eat. You can't because it's full. So like, it's a fair point. I think it's great that at Epcot you always know you can go regardless of design, right? It's not pretty, and I don't like the design of it. But as far as guest comfort, the fact that there's always somewhere you can go to the middle of the park if you just need some time to, like, the kids need to take a nap, you need to sit for a little while and just drink a beverage. There's a place you can go, and there's something to be said for that, right? And that's what I will say for the Epcot project, the World Celebration project, is it is function over form. It is not particularly well designed. It is not pretty, but it serves all the guest functions that they could possibly need, and a lot of those functions, those that other Disney parks neglect, really. So kudos to them for at least building things that will enhance the guest experience. Shame on them for building things that are, from a design standpoint, very ugly and very much not Disney.
I actually like the exterior of the building okay.
At night, it's fine, but does that excuse it during the day? I also have a problem with the fact that you're just replicating the Spaceship Earth facade, right? Like,
yeah.
I think there was a harmony between the Communicore buildings and Spaceship Earth. They're two different things, but there was some sort of harmony between them. These two, congruent, buildings, and then the big globe in the center, right? And now it's like, well, you have one half of that, and then this weird building that mimics Spaceship Earth, and then a water player, and then Spaceship Earth. And then, as a total thing, it doesn't all work together, right? Like, I love the Moana area. I think it's gorgeous. That's still my favorite part of, I think, probably the whole project. And then I wish they would have just embraced that, right? Like, they went for this whole very natural, all this rock work, and it's amazing how good a faux natural environment works up against the old Future World buildings. But then you get into this, up against that, you now have this weird modern interpretation of a Communicore building, which is really just a box with decorations on it. And so that, like, you have three very different architectural styles all colliding in the middle of that park. I think as a whole entity, it does not work. From a function standpoint, it's going to work because I think for guest enjoyment and guest comfort, they thought of everything. But in the midst of that, the one thing they either didn't think of or didn't give them the money for was to make the whole thing actually pretty.
Could they have not accomplished all their goals just by gutting the old building and putting the new stuff in there?
Yeah, but they got too far along, right? That was the problem, was they already had knocked down one. And someone said to me at the media event, they're like, couldn't at that point, like, they knocked down the building for Moana, right? So couldn't they at that point, or they knocked out, I guess they started with the other building, they started with the back one. Couldn't they have just moved Moana to that plot and then gutted the existing building and transformed that? And I said, honestly, like, I think they were already delayed enough, as we know, right? This took, almost 5 years to finish all of this to begin with. And that was without going back to the drawing board and trying to move Moana and then figuring out what you're going to do with that building, right?
Yeah.
I think in modern construction, I think once you're that far along, you've designed it, you've already started on plumbing and all of that. I think once you're that far along, there's no stopping. I think they had to go. Moana had to keep going where it was going. And I think at that point, like, here's what really happened is they threw that other building out, right? They threw it away, and they're like, well, now, all right, I'm going to give you guys a greatly diminished budget compared to what you were going to get. I need you guys to finish the rest of the middle and still give us everything we wanted. So I need all of the aspects of what we were going to build, but I need it in a much cheaper form. And post-COVID, that's a decision that was made. That's what they carried out. And look, I think in some ways, the Imagineers did what they could with what they were given. I think at the same time, you know, designing it to be a little more aesthetically pleasing probably wouldn't have cost more money. I don't know if they were rushed. I don't know if it was just like, let's just try to get across the finish line with what we were asked to get across the finish line with.
Maybe they like their design.
Maybe they do, but maybe that speaks for, you know, a younger class of Imagineers who have not been able to sit under the learning tree, right? We talked about that a lot during Stage 89, where we had a number of in my book, legendary Imagineers on that stage next to me. You know, and what we talked about and what they talked about was there was this remorse when I talked to any of them where they're like, you know, this young generation that's come into WDI, they don't have people to learn from. They're like, we had people to learn from. Like, and you talk about, you know, Eric Robison. I talked to him the other day, and he's like, well, I got to sit next to Frank Armitage.
Herb Ryman.
Yeah, and like, I mean, God, if there were two better artists to learn from, I do not know who they are. Imagine, like that's and Eric can't talk enough about what a positive impact that was on his career and his journey, right? And I think Eric will be the first to tell you that, you know, his career and his journey would be very different had he not had those people to learn from. And I think that might be part of the problem at WDI now is there are not a lot of people with a lot of tenure and a lot of experience for people to learn from. And so they just go and do what they think is the right answer, which would be the right answer probably in the real world. But when you work for the Walt Disney Company and Walt Disney Imagineering, you do not function within the real world. You just don't. You are supposed to do things that are outside the box. You are supposed to do things that are not the norm. You're supposed to accomplish all these goals and do it in a way that is artistic and creative and makes people go, wow, how did they do that?
Yeah,
right?
I think that there's a school of thought that people are less likely to lose their job if they maintain something the status quo.
Yeah.
Where you get a little too aspirational, you get out ahead of your skis a little bit, and you come up with something that fails, and then that reflects poorly on you, and it makes
Galactic Star Cruiser.
Well, but people see that.
Yeah.
People see, like, look, this guy tried to do something amazing and it didn't work out, and he lost his job. So I'm going to stay safe back here in the box a little bit and try to just dress up the box as opposed to create something new.
We forget it's a job, right? And you know, there's many of us, you get a job that pays well and you enjoy, and you obviously don't want to lose that, so you do what's asked of you, right? You know.
But if you look at the architecture of Future World, it is Genesis.
Yeah.
It's all crazy.
Yeah.
It's all wild. Mm-hmm. And this does feel a little safe compared to most of that, right?
Yeah.
It's like they put some shrouding on the building or cladding outside to make it look like what they want to do.
To hide.
You're right, it's a box.
They built a box, yeah.
It's a box.
Yeah. I will say the other thing, like the Mickey and Friends meet and greet bothers me immensely.
Oh, boy.
I am so annoyed with the Mickey and Friends meet and greet. Number one, like, I don't know what people thought the meet and greet itself was going to look like. With characters with a flat backdrop is kind of what you had before, and it's kind of what you have now. That's not my problem with it. My problem with it is the Epcot pandering, right? My problem with it is the mural they installed outside and the mural work inside, where it's like, look, it's Universe Energy with a cute dinosaur. And look, there's the Horizons Butler. And look, here's the Body Wars probe vehicle. And look, here's, and I'm like, this building is the antithesis of what Epcot Center was. How dare you? How dare you plaster how great this park was onto the definition of what ruined it?
I was just trying to forget about how great the park used to be and try to enjoy it for what it is now. And now you're just reminding me of all that I've lost.
You get me sad. Like, the Fountain of Nations is on a wall, and I'm like, instead of putting this decal on the wall, could you guys, like, I don't know, just build a fountain? Instead of the vagina planter out in the middle, could you have just put some goddamn pipes in the ground and put a fountain over there?
You're not wrong.
You know, like, come on. Instead, obviously you did this. We care. Not even just we care. I think even to some extent, people who aren't super fans care. I think people are like probably remember some of those things and are like, oh yeah, that fountain was pretty. Oh yeah, I remember that. Remember we came 5 years, 6, 7 years ago, and that fountain. Yeah, why'd they get rid of that? I don't know. Some of the stuff on that mural is stuff that purely we miss and probably would not stand up today, and its time had come. Some of that stuff is stuff that absolutely could have been maintained and updated and would still be a great part of Epcot today, whether it's Journey into Imagination, the Fountain of Nations. There's a couple things there that, they're lost to time because that's how time works. But some of those things are just, oops, we made some mistakes and got rid of some things that we should not have gotten rid of.
It makes you wonder a little bit about the new test track, because test track's closing later this month. And they have said they're going to put some nods to World of Motion.
Not even nods. They said it is directly inspired by World of Motion.
So I think that is better than here's kind of a graphic designer take on what you used to have. I think this, we are embracing World of Motion into this attraction.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be nice, especially because I don't particularly care for the current test track.
Neither do I.
We built the best vehicle maybe I've ever seen the other day.
Our last ride on this test track.
I'll send it to Jake. I have a picture of it.
Yeah.
It might be the best vehicle in test track history.
Well, we're recording this live, so you can't put it in if you send it later.
No, I'll send it right now. I have it, I promise.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I liked this new test track for like a minute when it opened, and then very quickly that wore off the more I went on it. I'm excited because I've said to people there are two things they could do that would fix Epcot enough for me that I could live. And the two things are make Test Track good again, and the other is give us a new Journey into Imagination. That's all they would have to do for me. Like those two things, if you rectify those two things, and maybe at some point put a better full nighttime show in, then I'm good. I'm all set.
I'm okay with Luminous right now.
Yeah, for now.
I don't know that Luminous is going to be this timeless Disney classic.
Unless they put drones in it.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But, the character meet and greet, I went through there. I thought there were some nice touches in there, but also I was a little irritated.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, how dare you?
Yeah.
You don't know what this meant to people.
Yeah.
And the art style, I'm not crazy about that art style.
No, that's the other thing. That mural, I thought that originally way, way, way back before it became clear what this building was going to look like. Yeah. When they talked about the mural, I thought it was going to be inside.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, I'm like, that would have been better, right? Yeah. Could you imagine those big gray walls inside if you had put the mural as the walls? That would have been a vast improvement.
Yeah, I don't know. I walked in there. I thought it was cute, but I'm not a meet and greet person.
Yeah.
I was more interested in the artwork inside on the wall and all that kind of stuff. But the interactions were fine, and they actually didn't do their own project much justice when they put their TikTok out or Instagram reel or whatever it was a couple weeks ago, where Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy all kind of came out from the center area, right? So it looked like you had this one area with a couple arched doors. There we go.
There's our car.
There's our car. Look at that.
It's beautiful.
The biggest wheels you've ever seen. We did not get a high score.
No, who would think that would be functional?
The ride doesn't work. It didn't pick up our thing anyway most of the time.
See, that's the opposite. That's the complete opposite of Epcot. That's neither form nor function, that vehicle.
Right. Careful, WDI is going to offer you a job.
Oh my God.
The outdoor areas at Communicore Hall, Communicore Plaza, I enjoy it, but I haven't been back. It opened yesterday, and we were at the media event at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
So I have not seen how it's set up when it's not a media event. So there were tables and cocktail tables with tablecloths and all kinds of food stations and bars. But in general, I felt like it was a cool spot to hang out. There is some shade there if you want it. There's some nice sun if you need it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those umbrellas are staying, but I think it's okay. And it added some umbrella tables just up the way towards the old Starbucks too, that little flex area.
Oh, the Rose Walk. Yeah,
the Rose Walk.
reopen. That's a great idea. I will say this here again. This is sad to say, but it's true. I think the best work of the Epcot expansion was everything the park did to make permanent, meaningful infrastructure for festivals. So they built a lot of permanent right, like that between France and Morocco, they made that a permanent festival pad, right? And it's greatly improved. The Rose Walk, right? Again, all these permanent on the left and right side, and the new bigger bathrooms, again, vastly improved. So anywhere there was anything related to festival operations, they did a tremendous job fixing, right? And I will tell you again, for all of my hatred of Communicore Hall, there is a part of me that's very happy it exists, because I saw that service window and I like smiled, because I was like, oh, when we come back for food and wine at the end of the summer, there's going to be a couple more booths we could sit inside and review.
You're too loud.
Because we could at least go to I don't know about that. Maybe it will be too loud. I don't know. We do it in Odyssey.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, we'll find out. But the idea that there is an air-conditioned space where we can do a couple more food reviews, but also for you at home, right? The idea that there's probably a indoor space with some seating where you can go to a couple nearby booths or even the one in there, and festival favorites, and enjoy some air conditioning while you enjoy some festival bite. That has always been my biggest problem with the festivals. I don't like to stand and snack. That is not my theme park experience.
I want to sit and eat.
Except popcorn. I like popcorn because you can walk and eat it, right? Like, I like the stuff you can walk and eat. Festival stuff is not walk and eat to me. I know as the boat, and I see people do it, but I'm like, I'm going to end up wearing it. I don't want to do that.
I don't like to walk and drink.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like a soda, not a cocktail, no. But I want to sit. Like, standing with a cocktail is fine. But if I have festival food and a drink, I want a table with chairs. And so I like that there's more tables with chairs to enjoy that with. Like, I don't know. I don't want to stand outside in the heat and try to eat a salmon dish, and a cocktail while, especially not while walking, but especially not
like
outside standing. Sounds like all of them. So again, from an operations standpoint, which is a Disney Parks nerd, I get giddy about operations. And when they were explaining to us all the things they can do with that space, I'm like, that's great. I love that. Now, could you design the space better to be a space I want to spend time in? I would prefer that. But at the same time, at least you guys did what you needed to do. But God, it's just a hideous beast of a structure. Yeah.
You're such a media shill.
Yeah, right?
Speaking of which, the Celebración Encanto, the show.
People are going to love it, but it was disappointing.
Well, I watched it, and I was at first disappointed because it was mostly on the screen. They have a couple performers. They have a couple main performers and a few dancers.
They're fantastic.
Who are great.
The dancers were like it is like 100-something degrees with humidity.
Yeah.
And these people are sambaing for their lives. Like the amount of, and smiling the whole time. You could see the dancers are soaking wet, but they've got the smile on and they are hustling. And so performer-wise, fantastic.
But so here's what I don't like is the performers aren't doing the singing. It's all pre-recorded. It's all pre-recorded on a screen.
Sing along.
So it's sing-along type of deal.
It's like Frozen sing-along.
Yeah, it's like Frozen. I think the Frozen sing-along is funnier.
Absolutely.
And probably better air conditioning.
Probably.
Indoors.
I want this to be the review of this Frozen. From Eric Morton, Frozen sing-along has better air conditioning than the outside Encanto show.
Correct.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think they do a good job. I just don't like. I don't like this formulaic screen.
Yeah.
Pre-recorded music. I want to watch a performer sing.
Yeah.
And the performers that were there were great. And then they bring out the characters, and that Bruno is a dead ringer, man.
He is Bruno.
I think that is the real Bruno.
The facial expressions. He was. I mean, Mirabel was great too, but Bruno stole the show. He was.
He looks exactly like Bruno.
It's like he walked out of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the face, I was dying from the facial expression. He kept doing like, again.
The surprise,
Yeah,
the eyebrow raises, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
But then after the show, what I find out is this isn't an original show at all. They lifted it from Cruise Line, which you told me.
90% of it is the thing we saw on the cruise, which we also have a video of here on the channel. The thing Jason and I went to, even with the 2 characters that come out at the end. The only thing that's different is the characters will do more of, instead at Epcot, instead of a meet and greet, the characters do a 10-minute dance party at the end instead.
I was fine with that.
Yeah, as opposed to a really long wait for a meet and greet with the 2 of them. No, it's great. That's what people want. The parents take a quick picture while their kids are dancing with Bruno and Mirabelle, and everybody's happy. And you know what? I think, as much as we don't like the show, which I think we have fair criticisms, and Disney Entertainment should be kind of ashamed of themselves, honestly, in some respects. But it's going to please a crowd, right? People are going to walk by and the parents are going to sit with the kids on the grass. The show's going to start. The kids are going to go up and dance. The parents are going to sit back and take cute pictures of the kids dancing or being in the show, holding up the props and stuff. And it's going to mean the world to people. So it's going to work. But I think you could have had all those successful elements and also still staged a better show in total. I think Disney Live Entertainment, particularly in the U.S., sometimes rests on its laurels and doesn't push the envelope and doesn't try to do something, big and interesting. They just kind of go through the motions a lot of the time.
I think standing in front of a screen and introducing clips is only live entertainment in the most technical sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
So while the performers were good, the hosts or whatever we're calling them, I just feel like there's that extra, I want the music. I want to go, oh man, this guy can sing, or this woman can really sing, and instead they're I don't know, which sister can lift weights.
It's a trivia thing, which makes no sense because it literally, that show was made for the cruise line, right? Because on the cruise you are conditioned that, there's going to be trivia when I go in these rooms, right? Yeah. And so the Encanto thing is framed as trivia, but also obviously the arts and crafts portion of the thing on the cruise is not there. But on the cruise it's framed as a cruise activity because there's arts and crafts, there's food and beverage, there's trivia and characters, right? Those are all things you expect on the Disney cruise. Pushing that over into Epcot, it becomes weird. It's why are they doing trivia? I don't understand.
Here's what I'll say, though. When I was young, Communicore is the place that little kids wanted to avoid the most because it was the most nerdy place in Future World, right? It's boring for a little kid.
Yeah.
And now you have the Mickey and Friends meet and greet, and you have the Celebración Encanto.
Yeah.
This is going to be, and the live band, this is going to be the place that little kids want to hang out the most.
And Moana nearby, right?
Yeah, Moana's right there.
That left side, they've made essentially, all kid friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. In that respect, I think it's great because little kids traditionally don't love Epcot.
Yeah.
Right? Now you have maybe kids that are too young to appreciate Cosmic Rewind can still go on Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. They got the Mickey and Friends meet and greet there. They have the Encanto show. They have the Moana and the Journey of Water inspired by Moana. So there is a lot more stuff for little kids to do. And I applaud them for that.
That was the mantra, right? The famous Bob Chapek Epcot mantra was more family. What was it? More Disney,
more family.
More Disney, more family, more. I forget more timeless, more timeless, more Disney, and more family. Yeah. And some of that is true. Timeless, no. We will inevitably, before I leave this earth, we will talk about another Epcot overhaul. I believe that. So it's not timeless, but it is definitely more, like you said, it's definitely more family.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them adding things for small kids, and I think small kids are going to love that show. So in that respect, the show is great. And to me, as someone who appreciates things like the Voices of Liberty, or just got off a cruise line, the Broadway style shows, all that, that's what's missing.
Yeah.
At Epcot. Right?
I think
you have the Voice of Liberty, but I would love to see some vocal performers up front.
I think great Disney entertainment does not only entertain one age group, right? I think Frozen Sing Along is a great example, right? Where they're like, okay, well, we know we're going to do the sing-along, and we know, obviously, the kids are going to love the sing-along part. Mom and Dad and everyone that accidentally walks in here are probably not going to like the sing-along part, so what do we do? It's like, well, this is the park with Streetmosphere. What if we pull 2 Streetmosphere performers and let them just riff the rest of the show, right? And make it, that's the, and then it becomes somewhere that the parents actually want to go because they're like, oh, I want to, those people are pretty funny. I want to go watch them. And then the kids are like, I want to go see Anna and Elsa and sing along. And it's something for everybody, right? It's the truth of what is supposed to be the truth of every Disney entertainment offering, every Disney attraction, every Disney hotel. What is true of all those things is there's supposed to be something for everyone. And the Encanto show is not something for everyone. It's something for one very specific group, which is families with small children. Right, and that is it, and there is nothing else there for everyone. And then what counters that is Lookout Cay, which is, I think, more for us.
They're great,
but it's still for everyone because they're great performers, and kids will dance to music. It doesn't matter if they know the music or not. You know,
it is a bizarre stage with no back, and from what I'm told, they can do performances 360 if they want to. They could actually flip it around, perform in the other direction if they wanted to.
I love the description of it was, if the sun's really strong and coming from this way, we could just turn the performers and the screen around, and they can face the other way where the shadow of the awning is going the other way so people can stand in the shade. That was the thing that really stood out to me. That's why I liked the plaza. I not again from a design standpoint, but from a functionality standpoint and what it will mean to the park, I like the plaza.
Yeah.
More live entertainment venues and thoughtfully designed entertainment venues. I'm on board with that.
More than anything, I'm glad all the walls are down.
Yeah.
And we can experience a full Epcot. Now, whether it's as good as we think it used to be or whatever, we can argue that all day long.
Yeah.
But at least I can go to Epcot now and there are no more construction walls up.
Yeah.
I mean, except Morocco.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Test track will close in 5
Test track is closing next week.
Enjoy the 6 days without construction walls, everyone. But then what was funny was I then joked with someone else from Disney. We say, oh, yeah, the walls are down. I was like, yeah, you guys are about to start 50 other projects, though. And they're like, yeah, there'll always be walls. Yeah. I was like, it's not, in the case of the middle of Epcot, the walls got tiring. But as fans, it's also always exciting that there's something happening.
No, I appreciate that there's always construction going on. You're always going to have something going on. But these construction walls were very intrusive to your park experience. These were like, can you imagine walking on Main Street, USA, and everything's blocked off except the sidewalk in front of the Emporium?
I can't imagine
for 3 years.
Because I went to California Adventure during its remodel.
Yeah.
I can imagine literally closing the whole entrance avenue of the park and entering next to Soarin', and then the whole entrance of the park is walled off.
Yeah.
So it's happened. But again, what was okay about that was it was not a prolonged period, right? It was 12 to 18 months, maybe, as opposed to Epcot, which it just dragged on so long that it became like, I'm not tired of construction walls in total at the parks. I'm tired of them in the same one spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And for years and years, we'd just go there and, you're like, it was annoying.
Yeah.
Pick a direction immediately.
Yeah.
Right. I like to go to go around Spaceship or stand there kind of more in the center of the park and look to my right and look to my left and go, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So, and easy for egress, ingress, all the gresses.
Although I will say I'm annoyed. I'm now constantly annoyed that pathway between Moana and the Living Seas is closed. Because that was the quickest way to the exit, but it will be okay.
That'll be fixed soon, I think.
No, I think that's just gone.
Is it just gone?
Yeah, you have to walk around Moana.
But why are they just using a construction wall then?
Because they're still installing the gate. It's going to take them several months to install a gate. Because that's what happens. For some reason, the gate takes several months to put in.
You're ruining my day. I forgot about that. Oh, well. Back to inconvenience.
Beam said, bring Horizons back.
I mean, bringing Horizons back would be my ultimate goal. But that would take, how long it would take to build something of that size and scale again at Disney World with their construction history?
I don't know. Rise is roughly that size and scale. That didn't take that long.
Horizons was like a 17-minute ride. Like, it's massive.
Yeah, well, you also moved slower through it, right? If I could go slow down Rise of the Resistance, and it'll be be another 5 minutes longer.
Look, you've already been evac'd from every possible point on
Every
Rise of the
door,
Resistance.
every scene, and every doorway I've been through. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. Coolest evac though, we got evac'd off of Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey in Tokyo. That was my first evac in Tokyo ever. It was.
Did they profusely
cool.
apologize?
Oh, of course. It was so cool. The sets were beautiful with the lights on, even, and then we got to see we walked behind it. They have the switches, kind of like Frozen Ever After does, but the boats are so much bigger, and these are very modern contraptions, and it's just this massive thing that the boat sits on. It was really impressive to see it. I don't have photos because you're not allowed to take photos while you're getting evacuated. But actually, no, that wasn't my first evac. My first evac was Peter Pan a couple days earlier, but my first 2 Tokyo evacs were Fantasy Springs. Peter Pan was not that exciting. Frozen was really cool. That was a really, really cool one.
My sister Hillary was in town, and she said when she was out at Disneyland last year, she got evac'd from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And she loves that ride, by the way.
Oh.
Well, she thinks it's fun, right? But she said, boy, when they turn all the projectors and off and the lights on, it is awful.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
It's just a big warehouse.
Yeah. All right, so we did all the Communicore Hall stuff, then we left, and we came back for the Tiana event. And the reason, I don't want to get too deep into our actual thoughts on Tiana because
there's 90 minutes of that you could watch elsewhere.
Right. But leading up to that, they took us to the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
A ton of people, and gave us some announcements, some dates. Country Bear Jamboree, Country Bear Musical Jamboree.
July 17th.
July 17th. You'll be gone.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it. You know.
They
sad.
did perform a little bit of Try Everything live for us with...
that was the whole song. That's how long it'll be in the attraction. Yeah.
Short.
Yeah.
What was her name? I want to say it was Leanne Roberts, but...
That sounds right.
Yeah, wonderful voice, all that kind of stuff. I know you're not stoked about Trixie singing Try Everything. But Tom understands these characters on a deeper level than most people. That's not something Trixie would sing. Is that...
My problem, I think it was surprising enough that we liked Tiana. I am at this point pretty convinced I'm gonna hate the Country Bear Musical Jamboree because my big problem is I don't think it's going to be funny. I'm worried that they did not make it funny. So Trixie, this is apparently going to open the show, I believe. Trixie is going to perform Try Everything. It's going to be Trixie trying to do a number of things and not succeeding, right? But the moral of Try Everything is I'm going to keep on trying till I do it. Trixie is not meant to be an inspirational character. None of the characters in the Country Bear Jamboree are meant to be inspirational. They're meant to be funny, right? So, I don't want Trixie to inspire me to do anything. Honestly, they're all supposed to be the butt of a joke. That's what it is. You can't really be funny if all the characters are supposed to be taken as oh, I love them because they're inspirational. There's no comedy there, right? So, that number already, I'm this is a great rendition of the song. They've at least done a great job getting country versions of Disney songs, right? They hired all the right people for that, without a doubt. But the problem is the show cannot just be fun Disney songs. It has to be funny.
Yeah.
And I don't think, guys, it's a show with there's a moose, a deer, and a buffalo head mounted on the wall that talk to people. It's meant to be a comedy.
Remember, you can do anything you want if you wish hard enough, Tom.
Yeah, if Melvin the Moose is not an idiot, then what am I watching? That's the problem of people for everything people went on about Tiana being this political correctness project and all of this and all of that. There is, at least in Tiana, there is a little bit of comedy that is not probably politically correct, right? Larry the Armadillo being a kleptomaniac. I'm kind of surprised they got away with that. because everything, so much stuff gets sterilized now. Because it's like, well, yeah, that'd be funny, but is that, that set a bad example. Is that, are you making fun of a group of people? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And so with Trixie, it's like, well, yeah, her original intent is yeah, she's fat. And we're going to make fun of the fact that she's fat, right? And, yeah, I'm an overweight person. I get it. But I also, never took offense to it. I didn't think it was offensive. But obviously we can't do that now. We can't fat shame. So,
yeah.
So what do you do with Trixie then? And the answer instead for them was make her inspirational. What are you going to make Big Al inspirational? No, he's supposed to be like a big idiot. He's a glory hound and he's annoying. If you make him not that, the show ceases to be the show. Shaker, the whole point of the Country Bears is it's funny because they're hillbillies. You're making fun of hillbillies, right? That's the idea. Shaker has one tooth.
Great. There's going to be a hillbilly.
He's shaking that's the joke.
There's going to be a petition from hillbillies now. You've just ruined it.
That's the joke. And if you've taken away the joke, what is the show? Right, and look, they've managed to, in the 80s, they managed to dance around it, right? I think the Country Bear Vacation show was somewhat less about, they still did the fat shaming because it's Trixie eating a sandwich at a picnic, and she's eating a full foot-long giant deli sandwich. But for the rest of them, it's Liver Lips, they like,
Romeo
McGraw. They made him Elvis, right? They're like, well, let's get away from the hillbilly thing. What would be funny? It's funny if this big stupid bear thinks he's a rock star, and that doesn't offend anybody. Yeah. It's good wholesome fun. That's also it tickles the funny bone, right? Or Shake. In the case of Shaker, it became not, oh, he's a hillbilly bear. The joke became Shaker's in love with another species. He's having a love affair with an octopus named Dolores, and and they sing two different worlds. It's really funny.
Yeah, I think there's a place though for just having something that people can clap their hands and stomp their feet and have a good time for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I know that it's important to you to sort of honor who the characters were designed to be. And I get it. But I think also if people can go in there and it revives the Country Bear Jamboree to the point where it's a packed house of people enjoying themselves and clapping their hands and stomping their feet, and they can fall in love with those characters in their own way too, that's going to be okay.
See, but I don't think the songs alone are going to do it. I think it needs to be clever and funny. I don't think the average guest, I don't think it's enough that they're going to sing Disney songs. I think in some way the show has to be clever and funny. In between those musical numbers,
we'll see.
There has to be some comedy. I don't know.
We will see.
I hope they pull it off. I do, because I really don't want to go in there and hate the Country Bears. But I have a bad feeling about this. Also, my thoughts as of today. Are my thoughts as of today.
Also announced they did do a performance in Tiana's Bayou Adventure. They had Anika Noni Rose and PJ Morton do a performance. We were very fortunate to see that. But also announced was a few more details about the Little Mermaid show. I forget what it's going to be called. Voyage of Little Mermaid. It's been closed since 2020.
Yeah, The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure.
Yeah, musical adventure. They kind of showed that they're adding some new puppets and they're blending humans, puppets, and digital background characters,
which often translates to less performers because we can digitize them.
There are 2 new songs. So all the songs that were in the previous show are still there, and they're adding the Daughters of Triton and Kiss the Girl.
So, what I thought was the coolest thing they're adding, though, is there is a big fight at the end. So they're going to battle a physical giant Ursula, apparently, according to what Disney said. And for all of our talk lately of Disney avoiding conflict in attractions, the fact that we're going to get the big fight where Ursula dies at the end in this show, I think that's a big deal.
You think they're going to stab her with the ship?
I think so.
Oh, what if it shoots slime all over the audience?
No,
come on.
I just want the stage to still rain. That's all I want. I need Please tell me, Disney, you've left the old ass lasers alone.
The laser, I need the lasers.
Please leave the lasers and the water. I promise you, it's not going to be there. I know they're not going to be there, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, well, that laser technology I still love, and it's not as 80s as the Voyage of Little Mermaid, where you have the kind of waves and you got the lasers going through all the fog and stuff. But Disney Dreams on Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah.
Still, they do the laser art on the curtain and stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of the old 80s lasers.
Oh, that was the best part of Voyage, is the lasers and the weird rainy stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the last time I went to Voyage, it was bad.
But it's, I mean, based on what we saw, that seems pretty promising. Those are all changes where it doesn't seem like you're diminishing the show. It actually does seem like you're making the show better. That was not a show that had a ton of physical performers outside of the puppeteers, which it's great that the puppeteers will remain. I love that. So knock on wood, this could be a vast improvement. We'll wait and see.
It has to be, because I'm telling you, I went to that show in 2020 before everything shut down.
Yeah.
And I left, and I was just like, I love The Little Mermaid. That is the signal of like the Disney Renaissance to me, right?
Yeah.
And I walked out going, man, that was bad. It was bad. The singing was bad. The puppets were in bad shape. The show looked bad. The only thing that saved it for me was the lasers at the beginning.
You know what blows my mind? It blows my mind that they let that sit there and rot to the point at which none of it was usable again. Yeah. And at that point, it's like, well, we could rip this out and do anything. And someone in that meeting goes, what if we made a new Little Mermaid show? And everyone went, okay. Like, you built a whole Little Mermaid area at Magic Kingdom, and then everyone still sat there and went, you know what? We should do a new Little Mermaid show at Hollywood Studios.
I am hopeful for that show, and I'll say I'm hopeful for the Country Bear Jamboree. I don't think I've seen enough to make an opinion. Hopefully, you are going to be okay.
I'm not rooting against it.
You're preparing to not like it, which I understand. But I feel like we just went through this with Tiana, where the internet everybody drew their lines before the ride ever came out of what it was.
Yeah.
And hopefully the Country Bear show will be fun, and you'll get to keep the Country Bears. It's better than a Toy Story marionette.
And like we said before, what I said at the beginning was, if it turns out bad, then at least the bears are still there, and at some point someone can try again, right? And on the other side of things, guess what Tom's going to talk about? You could always go somewhere else. And in that other place, you could go see all 3 of the Country Bear shows, because now we've got Vacation Hoedown. We're likely getting Jingle Bell Jamboree back in November. And, of course, the rest of the year, you can enjoy the original, uncut Country Bear Jamboree at Tokyo
and then go around the
Disneyland.
corner and ride Splash Mountain.
Yeah, essentially across the street. You can go ride the best version of Splash Mountain that has ever existed. And then you could go ride Eric's 1970s Haunted Mansion. And we could go on Snow White and get murdered by the witch, and go on the Jungle Cruise, and Trader Sam will be there. And you can go do all the racist things your heart desires. You can go do at the Tokyo. That should be the tagline for Tokyo Disneyland, where racism comes true, or I don't know, make a tagline for it.
I'm just going to steer clear of that entirely.
Where racist Disney still lives, here at Tokyo Disneyland.
Boy, I want to change the subject, but I can't. I have to pivot so hard, I'm not sure where to move to next. So we do the Tiana things. And by the way, there were some nice Tiana things we got to see. We got to see them take a picture of the cast in front of it with Jeff Ollie and the Imagineering team. And
we got to meet Jeff.
Yeah, we got to meet.
I never met Jeff before.
Got to meet Jeff. Bruce Vaughn was there.
For a moment. I've had 2 close encounters with Bruce Vaughn, that's the head of Imagineering, in the last week. So first of all, I ran into him at the Sky Club at Haneda, which the rule is you don't, people, I was on the phone with my girlfriend. She's like, you should go up to him. And I go, the unwritten rule of Sky Club, you don't bother people at the Sky Club. You can't go say hello to people at the Sky Club. You just don't. Any airport, any airline lounge, you don't do it. It's not. You just don't. And so I didn't. And then, funny enough, they're like, "Oh, he's going to come around to the tables at the media event." And I think he got called away because he was part of the presentation that was after. So I think he met 3 tables of people, and then Bruce vanished. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm not meeting Bruce Vaughn today."
I feel like they did a good job with the event, and sadly, the general public's not going to get to see this. But having the sort of jazz band playing in front of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I got a good picture of that.
That should be a daily thing.
Yeah,
that really should be.
They kind of have that at Disneyland, right? They've had the kind of sort of New Orleans jazz
There's
bands.
the group that plays at Tiana, now Tiana's Palace, but French Market, yeah.
Well, they had Queenie and the band that was playing on the little
them too,
boats. A lot of New Orleans in Disney parks. So they brought in, what you notice is they brought in for this event a lot of people from New Orleans.
Yeah.
There are obviously a lot of the family and staff at the Dookie Chase restaurant. A lot of people from New Orleans, media, influencers, etc. The Times-Picayune, NOLA.com.
I was going to say, we met someone from NOLA.com. You said, what? Listens to the podcast, right? Yeah. So shout out to
Mr.
our
Scott,
friend.
Yeah. Appreciated getting to meet you. They did a lot of this. They leaned into the New Orleans thing hard. I think they felt like an obligation to do that with this.
Yeah.
And then we went last night to a gathering. We were supposed to have a gathering in Frontierland, and because it rained a little bit, they moved it into the one of the ballrooms at the Contemporary. And again, bands playing, big jazz brass.
Can we just talk about that pivot for a second? Like at some point in the middle of the day,
I'm stunned how fast.
At some point in the middle of this is Disney magic. This is what we love about this company, right? Or these are the moments where you're like, wow, how do they do it? That events team pivoted, like at some point in the day they called it, and essentially moved what was supposed to be 1,000-person outdoor party at the Magic Kingdom with food and beverage and entertainment. That somehow then miraculously moved to the Contemporary, everything, the food, the beverage, the entertainment, all of that, enough tables for everybody, transportation, all of that pivoting perfectly, seamlessly.
Instantly.
Yeah. I don't think they made that call super early in the day.
No,
it just happened.
And it only really rained. It rained really hard for about a minute and a half yesterday, and then
it was within 30 minutes of the event.
Yeah.
So someone at some point was like, if there's a chance of rain and the tables and stuff might get wet, then we should just move it. And I think it was the right call. And also, it was so hot out that I think in the end, people were ready to have 2 hours in air conditioning. That was great. The food was fantastic. I've had a lot of we've catered.
It was
Disney
the Chase family
before.
recipe on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, some of that stuff, but some of the stuff the Disney catering people churned out was great. I thought it was a really nice spread.
I would also be remiss if I didn't point out we got a preview of the merchandise, and I know you're excited about a few of the items.
It's really good stuff. They did a great job. I am in the last couple of years. It is clear that Disney realized what they were missing. And so it's weird. In some cases, they still don't get it, right? There's a lot of what I would call generic garbage that is produced. Now, I am sure, I do not sit in that room. I'm sure someone in merchandise would gladly tell me, like, the sales on that stuff is really good, so we have to make it. And I'm like, okay, I understand. But then, what we've seen as far as I think when they get to do this fun stuff, when they get to do new attraction merchandise in particular, we see a lot of interesting ideas, right? And we saw it there with Remy, right? Like, I don't even like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, but the light up hat, the kids like fake cooking set, the little rat that runs around your shirt. I was like, these are all really creative and thoughtful and fun things. These are great. Guardians, right? They did all those relics. I like those relics. I'm not even a Marvel guy. I thought those relic pieces were really cool. They did like the weird, what was it, like fake money? Is like Xandarian money, the little currency pieces.
Yeah, Infinity Stones.
Yeah, they did a lot of really cool, weird stuff. And I love that.
Tron, they had tokens to
Tron
Flynn's Arcade, all kinds of
Tron. They went above and beyond with Tron. The arcade sign, Tron was insane. Like, I would have bought everything in that store.
Yeah, it's a good thing you were out of town.
It was. I ended up not really buying all of it. Yeah. But then with Tiana, they got that interactive Firefly, which I love. I love interactive or light up tchotchkes. That is my thing with theme parks. And so, like, the fact that you've made a light up interactive Firefly, it comes in a charging jar. Like, the jar is cute. And it could be used at nightlight. You could plug it in at night and it's a nightlight, or you can take him out and you wear him to the park and he'll interact with the ride. He'll interact with other fireflies. And
Yeah, if you get close to other fireflies, they start like doing stuff. That
like a
looked cool.
Furby.
So I think I'm not a merch person. Most of you know that. I do have an unboxing show, but it's not merch that I keep. But the things that I thought were cool there, the water tower, there's a water tower, you know, it's about yay tall. It's going to be probably $150-ish. They didn't give us
have
the
a
exact
price
price
yet.
It lights up. It has the animal band around the bottom.
So the original, you have
Tiana,
original characters. You have an icon from the attraction in the water tower. It ticks all the boxes.
Yes. Because it did create original characters for the ride, which I love.
And
the plush of the little band animals, I'm sure you're going to get those.
They need more. Larry the Armadillo, #1, but just make the rest of them. Make
Tom's
the
obsessed
rest of them.
with
I think they were cold feet, right? Where it's like, okay, pick a couple of them, and you could make plush of a couple of them. And so I think they thought about it, and they're like, these are the 3. Let's do the raccoon. People like raccoons; they're cute. Let's do the turtle because he's kind of wacky and interesting. Okay. And then with the possum, is it the possum that they're going to go? Okay, possum's cute. And so they picked 3. And they made them, and they're adorable, and they're going to sell like hotcakes, absolutely. But we need the rest of the band, and we absolutely need Larry the Armadillo with his crazy eye patch, and he's stealing things.
His parasol.
He's the best. And then even the Lewis, like I forget what they call those, cuddlies or whatever. He's kind of like, I think it's
Cuddly.
Sleepy's was a mattress store in the Northeast, I believe. I think they're cuddlies. Can we get a fact check in the booth, maybe?
It's like your Sleepy
cuddlies?
Figment, but it's Lewis.
Yeah, I think they're called cuddlies. But yeah, he's very cute. And he's holding a little trumpet.
Oh, look at Tom crying.
I love plush. Plush are the best. That's why we made Gertie, and that's why Gertie turned out so great, because we love plush, right?
We transitioned then from this event. Then we got on buses, went to Disney Springs. We had a private showing of Disney Dreams that Soar. I had not seen it in person yet. You had not seen it in person.
Correct.
I was blown away.
It was great.
It's short, but it's amazing.
It's the best new nighttime show at Walt Disney World since Happily Ever After.
Yeah. I agree.
You have to go see it. You must. It is. I think it's, I saw my first drone show was Disney Delight, the 30th show in Paris. I saw both versions of that. It blows both of those away. Then they did the Marvel show in Paris. I will say the Marvel show in Paris is still a little bigger and badder and better than this one, but that was also meant to be more permanent, honestly.
This is a free show.
This is technically a free show.
You can just go to Disney Springs.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You have to see it. I think it's great. I think it'd be great if it wasn't a free show. I think if it was in a park, people would be blown away.
I would love to see them incorporate that into the park. People always say Animal Kingdom. No, I don't like the idea of nighttime at Animal Kingdom. It just it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's a good nighttime.
You just want to
park.
go home,
right? But
I like the
incorporate it with Luminous or something like that. It could be really cool.
Epcot,
World Showcase Lagoon is so huge. You could do so many things. I think it was amazing. Yeah. There's some limited space there. It's running through. It ends in September sometime. Yeah. Then they funneled us into House of Blues. So there's a sort of New Orleans through line on everything, right? Yeah. So we leave the New Orleans part.
They didn't tell us we were going to House of Blues. They just funneled us in.
Then they go, here you go to the concert. Have fun at the concert. And I'm going, well, who's it going to be? Who's a new House of Blues? Obviously, a New Orleans-based chain, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, what New Orleans acts could it be? And I was like, could it be? It wouldn't be Harry Connick Jr. because it's not like there's a big piano up front. By the way, that's not an outlandish claim to suggest it could have been him because they had spent so much money on this event that it. Yeah, I think so. And I was fortunate enough to meet him in another event.
I was going to say you've been to a corporate function in recent months that had Harry Connick. Yeah.
And they bring out a group I've never heard of called Tank and the Bangas.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of Tank and the Bangas. And she came out singing When You Wish Upon a Star. Yeah. And she had the most ear-splitting, powerful, beautiful voice I've ever heard in my life.
So she also has recorded for Disney. She is a vocal in Tiana's Bayou Adventure. She's also one of the main vocals in Wondrous Journeys.
Correct.
Which is a phenomenal fireworks show at Disneyland Resort. So
Yeah.
she's great. I mean, they're all great.
That was wonderful. Their music was not like when she came out singing, like crooning. Her music wasn't really like that. It was more kind of like, I don't want to compare her to Nicki Minaj, but it's a lot like, I was doing this, then I was doing that, and then sing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, and I thought they were great. But all in all, it was a great event, and I was happy to be part of it. And we saw some stuff that we didn't like. We saw some stuff we liked.
Yeah.
And in general, I think it's just a good mood that people are in, that a lot of these things are wrapping up, right? We're kind of out of anticipation season and we're into experiencing season.
It's summer.
Yeah.
What a week, right? For not only for us, but obviously for the Disney company. Like, I was thinking about, like, Bruce Vaughn had a similar schedule to me the last couple days.
Yeah.
They went. That's why Josh Tomorrow didn't. I was kind of surprised Josh didn't show up for this.
Yeah.
But Josh Tomorrow, right, had to do Fantasy Springs. You know, what a week! Fantasy Springs, Lookout Cay, and then all of Walt Disney World's new stuff, including Tiana. It's summer. It's summer at theme parks, so there's a bunch of new,
Everybody's mad.
exciting stuff going on. About what?
Everybody's mad that I don't like the idea of a DAC show at night. Of DAC at night.
I'm glad they're mad about that and not that we like Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You know, so that's,
I will go into the DAC at night if you want me to. I feel like night shows at DAC have failed. It's time for the animals to go night-night. Let's leave them alone.
I think the Tree of Life Awakenings is enough. I think those are so good that's it. We're good.
Yeah.
I don't need something in that theater. Like, I don't know. I'd love a daytime thing in that theater, sure.
Well, here's the thing. When I go to DAC, I like to get there very early because that's when the safari's the best, right? The animals have woken up, they're eating. You see a lot of there's a lot of good stuff going on early in the morning. So to stay at DAC until dark, which is sometimes at 9 p.m.
It's also
or later.
good when they're about to go in because everyone gets up because they know they're about to go in.
Yeah.
So, in fairness, beginning and end of the day at Safari.
All right. Well, I will accept any criticism that people don't want, that people don't like that I don't want a nighttime DAC show. That's just the way I am.
I don't need it. I'd much rather
Especially
they
a drone
build.
show.
I'd much rather they build an additional land. I'd much rather there be more that I would deem worth doing in that part. And I'm not talking about Dino Land, right? Because we're really just fixing a land that people either A, don't understand, or B, don't even go in at this point. You know, so we're adding some capacity there, but really, like, I need one more big full land at Animal Kingdom. Beyond that, I think. You know, I still, like I've said this a million times, I think Zootopia, I disagree with Joe Rohde. And there's no academic conversation he's going to have with me that's going to make me change my mind about Zootopia at Animal Kingdom. I don't care what philosophical gibberish is going to be thrown at me. A park that is inspired by Walt Disney's fascination with animals, a fascination that led him to have so many projects in his animation studio that starred animals, right? And talk about the human need the need to humanize animals and put them in similar situations. And you're going to tell me all of that does not connect to Animal Kingdom. You're out of your mind. You're absolutely out of your mind.
I think Joe Rohde the comments he made were essentially that this is to see animals in the park is about ecology and about seeing animals in their natural state and the relationship between humans and animals. He didn't like the, I'll just make up a word, cartoonification of animals for this park. He wanted the park to be more serious.
Yeah, Banshee's very serious. A mythical creature from a space planet is serious. Like, look, I think Pandora fits in that park. That's not my argument. But if you're going to say the cartoonification of the park, number one, you put a show with talking bugs in the Tree of Life. Number two, all of the musical stage shows you've ever staged in that park are based on cartoons.
But the animals
you also
aren't
had also Dino Land was not a real place. You did not capture a geographical location of one single sort that had a certain type of animal for you to show. In fact, the only animals you had to show in Dino Land was a crocodile who hid under a rock most of the day and an occasional bird. Like it wasn't Asia, it wasn't Africa, it wasn't any of those. Like I'm sorry, but you already defeated your point the first time out. Let's not be ridiculous.
We talked about this before about my criticisms of Animal Kingdom. I know it's a lot of people's favorite parks.
Yeah.
Favorite park. My critique of the aesthetic of Animal Kingdom is I like a fantasy version of a real place better than a replica of a real place. So I would rather Animal Kingdom Lodge is a great fantasy version of parts of Africa, right? Harambe Market is like, oh look, here's a place where that's really run down and there's cracks everywhere and there's rusty wires hanging down and you expect a warlord to come whipping around the corner in a Land Cruiser any moment.
Yeah.
Like to me, like that's not what I want to be transported to. The park is about animals, and I appreciate the parts where they lean into the animals. But some of that stuff, I think there is room for a little fantasy, right? Yeah. You go into any country in Epcot, you don't get a replica of that country. No. You get a fantasy version of that country. Yeah. You don't, New York Street doesn't have, at any park you go to where they replicate New York, they don't have piles of garbage on the corner. Right? I don't know why they chose.
Think about Marceline, right? Like we've been to Real Marceline. Real Marceline does not look like Main Street USA. There are definitely little places, especially Disneyland's Main Street, right? Like the Coke Corner, like they're definite inspiration, but it's not Marceline, and Marceline never looked like Main Street USA. I hate to tell you.
Yeah.
New Orleans Square is never really what New Orleans looked like. Like a lot of it's very accurate, but it's a clean, purified, Disney-fied, if you will, version of that place, and that's what Disney does. And I think Walt always understood that you could bring in influences from the real world, but you never really wanted to go too far. To the point at which I think sometimes even at fault for Walt Disney, which was Haunted Mansion, right? Where he fought with them. He's like, no, the outside of the Haunted Mansion's not going to look dirty. Like, we're going to keep that clean.
Yeah, I don't want, rusty shutters hanging.
But then they built a ride full of cobwebs on the inside anyway. It's like, well...
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know, but I think at Disney World it made sense. Like, well, Haunted Mansion, like the outside should look beat. Like the rest of the land doesn't have to, but the haunted, abandoned manor up on the hill, that should probably look beat up. Yeah, okay.
I'm okay with it either way. I don't think that an attraction is the same as like a whole land either, right? Where you're trying to immerse me in something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like Animal Kingdom. I don't know an area of Animal Kingdom that I would like to be trapped in at night for a nighttime spectacular with easy access to get in and out. That theater everything that's been in that theater has failed. I can't think of anything that's been in that outdoor amphitheater that hasn't failed.
I like Kite Tales, but it's a different story.
But Kite Tales failed. Whether you like it or not, you like it because it was so wacky and unhinged.
I don't believe Kite Tales failed. I do not believe that. I think they had enough guests coming into that theater every day. I think they got tired of the public bashing them about it as if the kites were supposed to stay in the air somehow.
Oh, the crash landing thing?
Yeah, and people were just so mean about it that I think eventually they're like, we don't need to spend this money to be harassed.
It was pretty funny.
It was, but at the same time, like, it also was it was not a bad show. I'm sorry, it just was not. The kites were beautiful. The performers that were in it before they cut the, live dancing.
But it's not the same kind of show that should be mentioned in the same
No, it's a different thing.
Illuminations or Happily Ever After
there was a
a nighttime spectacular. It's just the kind of a thing you drive by and look at for 5 minutes.
Daytime atmospheric entertainment, yeah.
Oh, well.
There's nothing wrong with daytime atmospheric entertainment. Everything does not have to be the greatest thing you've ever seen. There are two ways you succeed in theme parks. You either give people a show like they've never seen before, or you kill them with charm, right? I think Kite Tales had a lot of charm. I think the kites were big and pretty. The performers had fun costumes. Like, I think it was a charming 10-minute diversion, and that works, man.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be the greatest piece of entertainment ever staged, but it needs to be thoughtful and it needs to be charming at least.
Yeah. All right, well, we've offended enough people today.
Have we?
I don't know. We've been watching with the Wigs. The Wigs is the Patreon group, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT. For as little as $2 a month, you can support us, and at higher levels, you get more and more stuff. Normally, we would do a private showing of this podcast for the Wigs, and then release it and recording a few days later. Obviously, due to the media event, we couldn't record ahead of time.
Due to all the things that have been going on.
Also, Nick was supposed to be here today, and then within an hour of us going live,
I've learned
he
Nick
told us he's not able to.
Nick only bails on stuff when I'm involved. Maybe he hates me. I don't know.
I won't show you the text messages
He showed up.
he's been sending.
He showed up to all the shows you invited him to, but once it was Tom's coming back, he's like, "I'm busy.
Yeah,
I can't make it."
I can't says I blame him. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back.
You'll be
every
back.
Tuesday. I'll be back. Tom won't.
I'll be back in a couple weeks.
Thanks for watching.
What was that? Wait, what does that mean?
A couple weeks? It's August. You're coming back in August.
That's a couple weeks.
It's the beginning of June.
That's a couple weeks. It's less than 2 months.
Thanks for watching the WDW News Today podcast. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you real soon. Well, he will. I'll be gone forever.